Hey, welcome everybody to AI Hotline. We have a lot that we're going to cover today, and we're joined by Will, Heather, and Jamie. So I'm April Elias. I'm one of your hosts for AI Hotline, and my background is in acquisitions, whether it's people, property, and then AI sprinkled in there to make it all happen a lot smoother.
Hi, I'm Jamie White. I'm from Delaware. I have a background in construction, real estate, as well as the AI and technology, mainly working with GOAT level workflows and automation.
I'm Heather Grizzard from Atlanta. I focus more on the strategy side. So getting more involved in like the consults and the teaching. Although I've been in automation for 15 years, I'm just trying to remove myself from the actual work of it. I just have it all in my brain.
Awesome.
My name is Will Castillo. I'm out of Miami, Florida, and I've been in marketing and automation for the past 10 years. I own my own agency, my own business. So really excited to continue these AI conversations because it's hot. It's really hot right now.
It's super hot. And you mentioned you're in Miami. So before we dive in, I just wanted to make note of something. So I was messing around on my LinkedIn, just taking a look in my network and who I'm connected with. So over time, because I've been in technology recruiting and talent acquisition for so long and C-suite executives moving around, a lot of the founders, CIOs and CTOs are all sitting in Miami now. I don't know if
hmm
you knew that, but a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
those founders, so I went to connect with people and it was like Miami, Miami. I saw it 8 times today. Have you noticed that there?
Yeah, today we were driving. I was driving back from lunch, and we had like 5 cars: a Bentley, a G wagon, and another car, and they were all like New York, LA, like Jersey, like from everywhere. So yeah, this is the spot right now. Like technology is coming here, crypto's coming here. Everybody from LA, influencers, streamers are down here.
So wasn't Miami one of the first cities that was going to, like, be on Bitcoin?
Yeah, they actually have a reserve. Like there's one of the reserves that they have in for the city of Miami is in Bitcoin.
I
It's
remember
part of the
seeing
budget. It's not the entire thing.
So by you saying Miami again, that reminded me of what I saw today. So I just thought it was interesting and didn't know if you noticed it. But what we're going to cover today is we're going to cover some education, some stuff that all of us teach on pretty much on a regular basis. And if you guys want to make any comments, we'll be happy to answer those questions as they pop up. But we do have a foundational framework that we work with in the real estate community or with clients that we work with, and it's simple and it's easy to apply to more than just your business. You can actually apply it to just about every area of your life because at some point, not that you have to or you need to, but you actually can layer in AI where it's meaningful to do so in personal, business, hobbies, whatever. So let's just jump in and start talking about the framework that we all work with or are familiar with and just tend to use in our businesses. And it's called a stack framework. And the very first part of the stack is the S, which stands for systems. So let's see, Heather, do you want to just kick off exactly what, the system stands for?
Sure. So when we think about systems, a lot of us are intimidated because we think, oh, it's the CRM. That's not necessarily the case. It's if you do anything the same way over and over again, that's a system. Doesn't matter whether you're brushing your teeth, whether you're going a certain route to work, whether you're washing dishes the same way. That's systems that you have in your life, and the same thing applies to your business. So that could be the communication you have with your team, how you're entering leads into your systems, and systems aren't necessarily the techie part, it's just more of the processes. So I think that's some clarification that we can offer just in the terms of it all, because systems just seems really intimidating. I don't know about you guys, but before we got into like this whole stack framework and like thinking through it, it's like systems is the big part. It's the thing. And so it seems overwhelming just as a word.
hmm And people think that a system is always technology, like my operating system, like tech or, software or whatever. So we were on, because we also all host the AI, well, now it's systems and AI hot or not
Well,
hotline, office
future
hours,
flow.
owners club, future flow. Yes, it is branded. We all came up with this cute name, Future Flow Systems and AI that we host every Thursday. So today, 11 a.m. Eastern in Owners Club. And when we were in there today, someone came in and they talked a lot about their system. So, Jamie, you were in there today. What was your take on the talk around the system of the person coming in just like, "Plug it all in and make it work"? What was your response when you heard her say that?
I get it from a lot of people. That's what they're looking for. And there's so many people that it's just like, it's not one size fits all. Everybody has something a little bit different. And when you go in, you can't just jump in and do everything at one time. You have to go in and get something started and make sure it works and make sure it replaces the system you have, and then continue to replace other systems as you go through and not just do it all at once.
Yeah. And Will, you're really good at working with people with systems too. So she came bless you. Was that a sneeze? Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just wanted to bless you, JB. You were sneezing, dude. I just
Thank you.
wanted to say bless you. So you'll appreciate this. So one of our friends came in today and she was just really overwhelmed for the lack of systems. And part of it was just not mapping it out yet. So I know when you have clients come to you, they come to you in a similar position. And what's your
Mhm.
best piece of advice where you tell them to start, where they're like wanting to turn on text messaging, they're wanting to have everything automated and they want all of, leads and deal flow, but quite nothing is set up yet. And they're just in a state of like feeling really disorganized and overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, usually we start with just a bit of a discovery, just going over what exactly do they need, like what's the actual outcome, and then we work it backwards. So it's a bit more of a discussion and question answer, and a bit more of a consulting type of gig at the beginning. But once you get that going, I think with the outcome in mind, it's a lot easier to actually map things out and write them down. So we're able to know what kind of tools do they need exactly, what exactly is it that we need to either find for automation, or as well as even like what the triggers are for that to happen, right? So as we walk it backwards, it becomes a lot clearer. And I'm sure Heather can speak on this because she does this a lot with um with clients, and is being able to just gain clarity and I guess untangle the maze, right, as to like what each of these tools do and what each of these processes are supposed to be and who needs to touch them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So Heather, what's your number one recommendation if somebody before they even touch a system or a tool and they just have a pen and paper?
You
What would
already
you like
know. You've already teed me up for this question.
what would you like them to do?
Obviously, the answer is whiteboarding. So as April has directly behind her with a bunch of stuff on it. So whiteboarding just brings so much like it allows you to pull the thoughts out of your head and put it onto paper in a context that could be really forward thinking for your business. So like right now you be super overwhelmed by everything that you're thinking about, like you're thinking about 50 different things to do with your business. What you can do with whiteboarding is just zoom really far out, like bird's eye view of your business, and just do some simple boxes like how do things flow together, and just doing that provides a lot of clarity on exactly what it is you need to do, and then you just start zooming in on every single one of those boxes and say, okay, this is how this works. And then the cool thing is as you zoom in deeper, and this is something that Will and April and I have talked about in the semester's training that we're doing, it's you just zoom in and you start to be able to develop your SOPs, figure out your KPIs from that. And then from that, like automations and adding in AI just become a lot easier because you're able to clearly see it, even if it's just paper and pencil, like, you can just see the boxes and it makes a lot more sense than thinking about it 50 things at a time.
Feel like it's decluttering of your mind and your thoughts when you write it out. Even if you're not completely committed to that system or process, it's a bit of an exercise of decluttering. It's like cleaning out your junk drawer, organizing your junk drawer. Like you need a bunch of stuff in that junk drawer, but you just kind of grab some of it sometimes, and you might be digging for the scissors or you might be digging for a screwdriver or whatever is in your junk drawer. And when you do that, I feel like it's a relief, even if you just put it on your
Mhm.
notebook or on a whiteboard like you see here. So the next Go ahead.
Yeah,
Well,
just a quick thing. I think at the beginning, any person who's going into their business, that's perfectly fine. As long as you know what the drawer has. I think it's perfectly fine to start that way as long as you take action. But eventually, when you put too many tools in one drawer, eventually it becomes harder and harder to actually find what you need. And even worse is like when you're in a rush or when things are tight, everything falls. So that's why it's important to whiteboard and really line everything out as you get, more movement and more deals through.
yeah, definitely. So that takes us to the next letter, which is ST and stack. So, Will, I'll go back to you for teams. So, as far as teams go, what would you like to share with everyone with regards to team and how it integrates into this stack framework?
Well, once you gain clarity on your systems and you build SOPs and you're clear on how to do things, the first thing is to, I guess you could say, clear your time, or as Dan Martell we all know, buy back your time. So the first teammate, the first person you hire should be a VA. Should be somebody that can assist you with time consuming tasks, small repetitive ones, and that will be your initiation of like building that team. But at the beginning you always have you're delegating, like there's no holding somebody accountable for X, Y, and Z unless you're giving them a clear instructions of what to do. So at the very beginning, not everybody's ready to hire right away. But if you're able to gain clarity on your systems and then start writing out the things that you do on a daily basis, this is why it's really important to do block calendar. I think that's when you're gonna start seeing like, okay, I can start like getting tasks off of my plate by hiring the first teammate, which should be a personal assistant or executive assistant for that matter. So
Hmm.
that's a number one recommendation that I have because it helps a boatload.
Yeah, it does for sure. And so, what I was thinking is the next step because I'm struggling with getting enough content out is, somebody just helping me organize my content, but I realize I still have to write it at this point, right? It's crystal clear. I still have to do it. I still have to write it, but it would be great if somebody could just like kind of go through and organize it into categories like, oh, your family is all in this folder and whatever is in this folder or this event is here. Or if I just had a little more organization around that, that would be great. I mean, the iPhone is amazing for being able to search stuff, but I still feel like I'm missing some ones that I should have just favorited. Like I should have just favorited and put it in an album in the moment, but sometimes when you're at an event, you're just like quick, like taking things and you don't really have time to organize. But yeah, I totally agree. And Jamie, I know you have a team, right? So
Mhm.
how do you feel like the team what would you be without a team? And why is it so important where you're at?
I think one of the key things is it allows me to do the things that my mind is focused on and where I feel I can get the most growth. And they do a lot of the day to day tasks per se. So it frees me back up from all the per se busy work and allows me to focus on the things that to me are more growth oriented. Just being able to save time and kind of like Will was saying, just getting rid of a lot of the repetitive things and having a lot of the, I want to say more basic stuff done is huge. But then also part of my team is the opposite of what was I struggling with? What don't I know? And having someone in place to be able to do some of that. So I'm not struggling and uh, basically struggling to get things done. Now they get done more efficiently also. So for me, that's been the biggest thing.
Awesome, Heather. I know you've got some great insight on teams.
Yeah,
Share share.
the team sauce. I think it's interesting, like, how teams tie into everything. Because, like we were talking about today, like, if you don't really know your business, it's hard to bring in somebody who is supposed to take on a role within it. And so whenever, you're whiteboarding out everything, at least it's almost like getting to know your business better. And so you're able to pass on that knowledge to whoever's coming on, and if you don't have that, or if there's just some part of your business that you just don't understand, then it's interesting. Like, do you bring in somebody who has that knowledge that you don't have, or Is it something where you need to kind of learn about and figure out how to be a leader in that area so that you can run your business? So it's very interesting decisions whenever you bring in a team.
Yeah. And then we also talked about in office hours earlier today the importance of taking a look at your org chart. And even if it's just you, and then you've mapped out your business, you've mapped out the activity, you know where you'd like to grow and get more revenue, then you can start to see once this part starts to kick up, I'm going to need this person next. Right. So when you map it out and you map out how you're going to do all of your business activities, then you have a little more clarity around who you're going to hire next. And then similarly, if you have a team, right? If you have a team already and you've mapped them out in an org chart and somebody's missing, it becomes crystal clear that that should be a focus to maybe replace that person or get somebody in that spot because there's also a cost of vacancy. Yes, it costs you to pay them, but depending on their function, their cost of vacancy could go really high and that could be one of your bottlenecks. So mapping out that system and then org charting out your team is just a really meaningful exercise to help you get clarity on what to do with regards to team or who to hire. And then it'll also help you see some redundancies or maybe people are not sitting in the right seats and maybe you just do a little shuffle to get them in the right seats. Awesome. So,
What
A.
about your end, April? Because I know for you, a
Mhm.
lot of your team's already per se built in because there's a lot of family members and stuff like that to help you get a lot of it done before you had to go elsewhere. So how would you say that plays into everything we're talking about in the systems?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my personal team is largely my family. We are a team of 8. And so what I started to do is after I decided like, hey, let me try all of these things because I did have the shiny object syndrome that most people do. And I was like, I'll try wholesaling. I'll try this. I'll join a team. I'll call agents for people. I'll do these things just because I didn't know what I didn't know. But when I found my lane, then I was like, oh, then I started to engage people once I had a direction. And not that it was a fully formed direction, but I at least knew that I was heading in a direction and then I could bring people along with me. And what I basically did was I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I need this, this, and this. Do you think you would like doing that? Right. So I work a W-2, so 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 during the day, I can't be calling agents. I can't be doing that. So my husband and my son stepped in and my son Artie he calls sellers and agents. And I was shocked that he was willing to do that because he's a little more introverted, but he's an absolute savage on the phone. And I'm like, this is amazing. This was the right spot for him. And then what he does is he just gets them to a point, qualifies them, and then my husband takes over because he's a little bit more, and you guys all know him. He's able to have a sales conversation a little bit on a more mature level. Well, maybe not always mature. Depends on
Aggressive.
what you mean by mature. So, but he'll go out and then he'll take Artie with him and they'll go see the properties and do all of that stuff, right? So I was like, I can't do that during the day, but we want to do this. And so that's what they do. And then they do other parts throughout the process. And then Colin really just loves, video, photography, stuff like that. So I was like, come along with me. And he's my videographer. And now he's working and doing that. But he's also documenting our flips and the transformation and the progress, which is amazing because I would have to go out and do that or have already try to remember to do that. And they're busy like trying to get stuff done. And then there's the administrative piece, and then I also have someone who recently joined the team as a junior project manager, and that was more of a like she's it's kind of like an orbit in a way because she wanted to learn, but she's getting paid when we sell the house. So we just said, "Hey," she's like, "I wanna learn. I'll do it for free. You don't have to pay me." And I was like, "No, I want you to get paid. Are you cool with getting paid when we sell the house?" And she said, "Yes." So here we are, and we do those kinds of things too, but we really needed her because I can't do that administrative stuff in the flip. I can't be submitting, like, reimbursements and draws and all that paperwork that goes with it. So we have someone that does that. It's a long answer, but if you
I
want
must
more, here's
say, I must say, I love how specific you went because not only you, the people that are around you, your family, got specialized positions in the business, but also like you probably defined what the outcome of those positions were supposed to be. And I think that's something that most people are like, they give the title and the role, but they don't really like specify what's the actual outcome that they want that position to be, or that person for the business. So I think that's, that's extremely important to have as well as you're growing the team and as you're putting people in positions, because that's how you hold accountability.
Yeah. And I think we've all probably been in the spot with a team member, whether it's a VA or a partner or whatever, and we expected an outcome or something to be done a certain way. And then it totally wasn't. And you're like, where wasn't I clear? Not to be sarcastic, but to say, well, wait a second, I clearly didn't do something right. So it's an opportunity for you to do a little bit of inner reflection and say, how can I get better at communicating it so they can learn, I can effectively pass the task off. And again, all of that foundation piece starts with defining what your system is too. And then it's all built on that. Because if you can't communicate your system, they don't know how to work in anything, right? Because there is no system to work in. But yeah,
Totally agree. That's beautifully put.
thanks. Thank you. So the next is in the stack framework is A, which is automation. So Heather, automation,
Automate
I'm gonna make an edit of that. You're just doing
the
that with the
SpongeBob with a
rainbow.
the
rainbow.
Yeah.
rainbow. Yeah, so automations is like after you have your team, it's really interesting to think of like where to add in automations because you have your systems, you know how everything's supposed to run. Maybe you've written some SOPs, maybe you haven't. A lot of people hate SOPs. But like SOPs are a lot of times the cheat code to be able to create an automation because it's already the steps that are outlined and you can see like okay, here's how you're measuring this, here's like all of it's already built in. So automations like you can go back to the whiteboard and it's another zoom in level. So you can zoom in, say, this is how an automation's supposed to work. And you don't even have to figure out the system, but that you're gonna like the not just the system, like the software that you are using for this specific automation because you can map it out in a way that would be tool agnostic. So that's something that we also went through in this semester and we showed a couple examples, probably a little too in depth, but it's cool. I wanted to show like how complicated they could get. They could get really complicated, but it could be as simple as a trigger, how you kickstart an automation, like what actually starts it, and then an action and then potentially having some different paths through some conditions that if this then that
If yeah, if then
if
yeah.
yeah whatever it is
If
so
then,
yeah if or else so
If
you have
this, then that.
if
yes,
this then that that's the one.
exactly.
So yeah, you can go down the two paths or you can have 10 different paths. It really depends on your business logic and you can pretty much replace a lot of manual tasks. Like if you're really focusing on automating a lot of things in your business, you can remove the manual work and then that's always an interesting thing too because then you're like replacing manual work that people are doing. So it's like what are they going to focus on then? And so that becomes more of an introspective time in your business of like, hey, I just replaced 20 hours of this person's week with automations. What are they going to do with that 20 hours? So that's all possible. And so, yeah, you just have to really figure out what can be automated. And so you look at what can be automated. It's always, is it repetitive? Is it consistent? Is it done the same way every time? And can you kind of use the same information? If it has to be something super personal, like it's a something where somebody's going to pay $50,000. That's probably not going to be super automated because you need to have that personal touch. They probably need to talk with a real person. They need to have those personalized messages, maybe even a handwritten note at that point. That's a lot of money to spend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just thinking through the exact task and like, should it be automated or should it still stay manual because it's so high value?
Yeah, definitely. So earlier in office hours, this came up too. And Jamie, I know you're in there today, and it was we were talking about how you could buy, and I was guilty of it too. I bought white labeled systems or I bought them because they were like pimped out with all the automations and the pipelines and the workflows and the auto nurtures and looping it around and have 87,000 nodes. And so I was like, "This is cool," but then when I went to use it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I do not compute." And when my son already started learning Go High Level, and I think I shared this with all of you guys before, he's like, "There's nothing like a freshy blank sub account." And I was like, "That's so true." And then we learn later that the easiest way is to just get somebody started with one pipeline that they're going to use, get them used to that because it's just too much stuff. So I know Jamie and Will, you both have had that experience for sure. So Jamie, I'll go to you to comment on that and then we'll pass it off to Will.
You know, it's definitely having just those very basics to be able to get in, get used to using how the software actually works, and not even turning on a lot of the automations, not turning on a lot of the AI, just learning the workflow and then turn on a portion of the AI. So it's like, okay, this is what we're recommending, and learn that and see what it's doing and go through that process and finish training the bot. Then you can turn that on as you go back and add other functions into the system and kind of go step by step.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Will, have you seen people jump in and embrace and actually use a system that's built, say, for instance, like a Go High Level, when it has all of the bells and whistles and 75 workflows, or have you seen it be more successful with like basic?
So the only way that I've seen it be successful where it has all the bells and whistles, it's all set up, is when there's like a really long onboarding period
Mm,
where like you're getting hands on, like this is what this automation does, this is what it triggers. So like the entire process is really explained and processed by, but like most clients are not there because that takes the, you'll have to have a good budget to be able to pay for that type of like onboarding. It's like very white glove type of onboarding. So majority of people that I've worked with, they're just kind of like want it quick and simple. And that's the best way to start. I mean, the moment that you start adding more things to it, automations, and as Jamie was saying, adding AI to the mix, it's like you add so many levels of randomness and not like very A B. There's a lot of gray area that you start adding when you start adding all that stuff.
hmm
For clients that I have dealt with and people that I've dealt with, it's a simple landing page form, one pipeline, and maybe one or two automations that will like get to that person quick. That's the best way to start it. That's what I call a foundational funnel. Just having a form, a calendar with a thank you page that has a video that explains what to expect, and then reminder emails. That is the most basic and probably what's going to make you the most money in your business at any point because it's so simple.
And I
So
feel like it's a good customer or client experience at that point too, because it's also, I feel like it's small enough, but has a lot of impact, right? Because it's a huge improvement over their current situation. And it's small enough to where you could probably just show them how to tweak things here and there. And it could be a lot of self service stuff. So they're not coming to you. Because if you give them this big, insane workflow that, the timers and all the things that are just kind of really intricate, then they can't help themselves, right? They have no way to do a self-service type of situation. And so I think those tend to be the happiest is when it's the most simple because then it's a little bit more stable. So we used to do a lot of implementations and specifically with like ServiceNow and Okta and some storage things. And it is like less is so much more on so many levels, even though like it's unlimited potential. People either love you or hate you at the end of the that's what we used to say. They're like, they're gonna love us or hate us at the end of this implementation. There's really not much for the in between. So we want to make sure that they love us. So we're gonna do really good with the change management and the communication because it's usually a big, endeavor enterprise wide. But then we would always keep it really, really simple because it was the easiest to achieve and it was the easiest for the users to adopt. And then you do upgrades and enhancements along the way when it makes sense. So yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
it takes two to tango at the end of the day. They have to
Yep.
learn it and you have
Yeah.
to teach it. So if whatever you're putting down they're not picking up, that is already a massive red flag, especially at the beginning when it's so much that you're getting explained. So yeah, the simpler the better. I agree.
And I think that's probably a PSA for all of us, and it came up earlier today, like, if you buy this, yes, it could be magical, and it is like handing somebody the keys to a Porsche, but you need to be able to, like, unlock it and put the key in the ignition at least and turn the engine over, right? Like, you might not know how to use all the buttons or all the switches, and that's okay, that's fine, you don't have to, but in order to get it out of the driveway, a few, like, foundational things have to happen, and so a lot of people just there's maybe a misunderstanding of the expectation when they buy something like that. And it's like, well, you have to learn it, right? You have to learn enough of it to get in there and start using it. And I think sometimes that's often misunderstood.
Yeah, that's correct. All
Yeah,
the bells and whistles is like having a yacht and then not knowing how to actually drive it. So you have to pay for a captain to drive it, and that's costly.
it is. It is. I like the yacht. You're in Miami with all the Miami stuff.
Exactly.
So we're gonna stick with you and head over to the C, which is cognition, which is AI to us. And so go ahead and kick us off with AI in this framework that we work with.
So AI in this framework is kind of like complementary. I wouldn't call it complementary, but it's kind of like the last I would say step within the setup of your of systems. And the reason for that is because right now in the current stage of AI is not 100% reliable. So you have to be very specific on the ways that you use it. And it is a brain at the end of the day. That's why it's called cognition. But you want to make sure that it has very strict a strict framework on where it's being placed. So things like, for example, extracting information is a really specific task. And the simpler the task, the better it works when it comes to like a lot of data. So one of the things that I use it for is specifically is to extract information from like, let's say a PDF. So if if a document comes in, I'm able to extract information from the PDF based on the instructions that I give it. And even that is a bit advanced for some setups, right? Because there's a lot of points where it could get wrong. But in this case, when it comes to automation, where you want to add it is again in simple repetitive tasks that you will give kind of like a junior level team member. And then aside from that is, to Heather's point earlier, is having clear SOPs as to know where we're going to actually input the AI to actually be active in the process. So you have to have systems. You have to define roles for the team where AI could potentially be. You have automations will play a long part because AI and automation kind of go hand in hand due to the fact that like it requires a system for it to actually like execute. And I think that's what a lot of people have a bit of a struggle currently because they hear the word AI, they hear the chat GPTs and the AI agents and all these things, but then sometimes they can't differentiate the two because they kind of go together. They're kind of like, brother and sister in this case.
Yeah, definitely. Heather, what do you have to add to that
Yeah, it's
AI
awesome.
talk?
I don't know. I mean, there's so much potential. I made a post yesterday that Will commented on. Thank you, Will. Like, is AI kill our creativity or does it amplify it? And I think it's interesting to think about like how it changes your processes and how it changes your business because it could go all the way down to the level of potentially killing creativity. I feel like it's killed mine in some ways. And so I just have to like consciously step away and not use it. But that's more on the bad side of it. The good side is that I built up like 2 whole websites in 2 days, complete apps with AI, super useful. And I was able to do it because these amazing programs exist.
Yeah, definitely. So, Jamie, add on to the AI talk here.
I think the one of the things I see a lot is everybody just wanted to do everything for them, and that doesn't happen, especially in the beginning. It assists and it does things for you. It does a lot of things in the back end, but you still have to actually go in and use it. Where a lot of people will come and be like, "Hey, I need you to set this up to just runs my whole company." And it's like, yeah, no, you still got to log in and actually use it, but it will do a lot of the back end. Um, And then maybe I'm backwards than Heather because I feel like the AI is helping my creativity because I can continue to create and think while it does a lot of the work in the background. And just like you were saying, you created the 2 websites and the different things you did there. You were able to do that creation, but something else actually built it. So
So, something to add to that is, Heather, you have an expertise in that you know how to build websites, you know how to build software. Jamie, you have an expertise in automation, you have an expertise in setting up systems for businesses. So it enhances that compared to the things that maybe we're not so much the experts of. So it's definitely going to enhance your abilities to do that of what you specialize on, but it will eat away your brain if you try to do it with something that you're not the expert on. And that's something that like has been very clear to me in the past 6 months that I have been so like super in the AI discovery and trying to understand how to use it properly for my business is like, okay, this is definitely like allowing me to see who's an actual expert in my team versus who's not in a certain domain. It enhances you at your expertise because you know what to look for, you know how to correct it. I mean, all these LLMs, all these models, they're no more than 70% correct at all times. So there's a big gap for it to be correct 100%. And they have this component that's called hallucination that most people don't know, so they take face value for it because they think it's the source of truth. And in reality, it's not. To both of your points is like, yeah, it can either enhance you or kill your creativity because depending on your expertise, you will definitely use it for what it's good for and expedite your process.
Well, I think where some of that came from is I actually downgraded to the free plan. I was one of those people. It's like with ChatGPT, it's very much different. It's a whole different experience. And so I went free for a little while and I'm now back upgraded because I'm like, I'm just not going to use this if I'm on the free plan. But it was killing my creativity because it wasn't giving me the outputs. And I still feel like it doesn't give me the outputs that like I feel like I need. And so I'm like having to come up with ideas for it. And then it's like, okay, let me not be so reliant on it because I still need to come up with those unique ideas to even be able to prompt it. And I don't know, it was just like a whole like learning thing for me of like stepping back, like, okay, it's not going to give me all the ideas. I still have to have a unique thought in there somewhere. I would like for it to give me all the ideas.
Yeah, it's more thinking power, right? Is essentially what it is. So you think more, but to your point too, Will, you have to have that domain expertise to be able to decipher whether it's a good output or not. Like it might sound good because it's really good at articulating words, right? It's really good at that. So it makes it sound amazing like it should be, right? But it's ultimately your expertise that determines whether it's correct or not. And then also working with it. And so Heather, you going paid or going paid, unpaid, paid, you see actually I think it gives you some awareness around how much you are actually putting into it. Because some people are like, "Oh, I'm just giving it all over to AI and it's thinking for me." Well, no, that was a good lesson or a good exercise for you to be aware of. I am actually contributing a lot to this, and the paid model just gives better output, and it's just better collaboration back and forth. I feel like
Mhm.
it just gets you better, like gets your sentiment or your idea better, like it catches what you're pitching way faster than the not paid version. And so they do that intentionally.
I just wanted to make the comment that I had a client come to me with a complete plan for how I should build out her Go High level. And guess where she got it from? She got it from ChatGPT. And I am finally getting to the end of this project, but it has been the most confusing project because I wanted to like go with her specifications. I wanted to say, okay, I can do this for you. But man, it hurt my head just to like figure out what the heck it was talking about because it was saying like different things in different parts and like not giving enough information in other parts. And you gotta love AI when people don't understand what the output should look like, and then they hand it off for it to be delivered in the way that they think the output should be. Because I just experienced all of that. So we just had a reset call actually just before this of like, okay, let's just completely step back from the chat GPT stuff and rethink through this. And come to find out instead of this complex like matching criteria, she just simply wanted a way to search for custom fields and go high level. So it's a completely different thing.
Like, wow, okay. Well, I'm glad that we arrived at that. Well, I've noticed in trying to write SOPs or workflows using AI, it'll make them pretty extensive. And you're like, this is amazing. This is going to take over the world. And I'm going to crush it with this SOP. But then when you actually get through and read it, because I've done that, I've just done it real quick. I'm like, and I say to little Artie, like, I need this done. I could do this, but I need you to do it. He's halfway through and he's like, is this necessary? So then I started going back and saying, is this the most optimized, simple way? Like, I'm looking for simple but effective. And it's like, you're right. Let me remove 7,000 steps. And then you're like, okay. And so, but you do, I mean, I do appreciate when people make the effort to try to give you an organized piece of communication, but if they themselves don't understand it, so it's kind of like, "This is great. Maybe we can, like, glance at it, clarify, this is what you really mean," and just put it in much simpler terms. I mean, it's great and it's not, right? It could be noisy, it could be clunky, but they're not ultimately the user in that person's business.
Well, she was a really busy person, and so I didn't wanna, like, tackle her into another phone call, and so I was trying to avoid that stuff because she had all this stuff going on, and so I was like, "Okay, I'll just figure it out," but no, we ended up, like, it was necessary to even, like, take the next step. But yeah, ChatGPT can put out some crazy things. I know another client that I worked with, she used Manus for this. She like developed this whole business plan and it was gonna make her $1 million a month. And I looked through it and I was like, holy crap, how the heck are and she was like believing it too. She's like, yeah, I could do this. It's like, okay, we need to take a little bit of a dose of reality here and come back to earth. And so I was asking her all these questions like, okay, how are you gonna do this? How are you gonna do this? And she's like, "Oh, well, I don't know. I guess I'll figure it out." It's like, "No, you can't just say you'll figure it out and make $1 million a month."
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, again, it is inspirational and it's great to read all of that output, but then when you actually go to execute on it, a lot of it is very difficult to execute on, or it's not quite in the right order, is what I've also found. So, Jamie, I know you have mentioned in the past that you like to use AI for workflows. How do you contain it? Do you give any constraints on your prompts?
I use a lot of it for guidelines. So I'll
Hmm.
go in and I'll just put what I'm trying to build. I'll explain it out and put it all through a workflow. I have multiple agents set up to do the majority of it. And then I'll implement that into Go High Level. And then in Go High Level, I will then go in and tweak and edit. So it's kind of like Will was saying, it's going to do 60 to 70% of it correct. And as long as it has that in there, then it saves probably 70% of the time of me actually building the full workflow. So it's literally just something to speed up things, not to replace things.
Hmm. Yeah.
Same thing like when
Do
you
you
do
use
the
So,
it? Do
website.
you get SOPs? Well,
so one more time, if I use SOPs?
no. Do you use AI to create SOPs that you ultimately communicate, or
Yeah. What happened?
I was gonna mention your SOP writer bot.
Yeah, yeah. So I do use ChatGPT, and I use ChatGPT for the SOPs, but after I go through like a very clear like walkthrough of everything, I use Loom as well for it, and then I grab the transcript and then give it to ChatGPT for it to give me the SOP. I don't ask it to just write it for me,
Mhm. That's
without
a
any
good point.
context. I give it a full transcript of me explaining what is it that needs to happen, and very clear explanation, like click blue button that says add contact, like
Yeah,
very clear explanation so that we has that information. So yeah, I use it religiously for SOPs and many other like documentation.
awesome. So Heather, the K keeps scaling.
Yeah, so once you get through the stack with a set and, like, without the K, then you can you can tackle the K. So that's keep scaling. Basically, whenever you have all of these things in place, then you can start really, like, turning up the heat and start, like if your business runs on leads, like, being able to increase your marketing efforts and have more leads come through, which will ultimately result in more revenue. And, your business grows, you'll have to tweak some of those things. So always have like those you recommend quarterly, right, Will? Like to quarterly go through and um, evaluate exactly like what's going on. Because as you start growing, like things could break, things could need to be changed. Like your systems might need to be revisited. You might have to go through the whole STAC again at some point whenever your business just has so much strain. So just being aware of that and not just letting everything go off into the sunset without you.
Anything to
Yeah,
add to keep
absolutely.
scaling? Well, I know that's your jam too.
Yeah, well, right now we're precisely doing that. We're scaling. I think it's a combination of actually the rest of the letters. Is really evaluating your systems. Is looking at your team members and seeing where specializations need to happen. For example, to your point earlier, April, talking about, when you take photos and you take content, well, once you start making videos and you start making, reels, what happens next? You need a thumbnail person. You need somebody that's gonna package it in social media and actually schedule it, right? And then all of these things could happen with automation, but it's always good to have somebody that is the one that is responsible and accountable for those things, for those outcomes, and really looking at the KPIs behind what you're doing, and then as well as optimizing automations. So it's a combination of all of them, because once you start, now the scaling portion is when you start being more specific in each part of your business, and you're kind of like putting it together in a way where, what happens if, in my case, what happens if 20 new clients come in the next month? What do I do? Right. But at the same time, even before that, it's like, how do I optimize my sales system to actually get those 20 clients? So you start like, you walk it backwards and then really analyzing it. And I think one of the key things here for scaling is actually having perspectives with your management team. So it's also understanding who are the leaders in your team, that you can have open conversations, open book conversations as to what's happening with the business and how to make it better. And that's currently where we're at. We're in a moment of scaling. So I can tell you that those are the steps that we're taking. Since January, we have grown, I would say probably like 200% for
Wow.
this year. Yeah,
Congrats.
we
That's
have we
amazing.
have we have almost we double, more than double our client list. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy year.
Yeah.
Awesome job.
See, but doing all of that works, right? Having all that in place helps facilitate that type of growth.
Absolutely. It also lets me think and strategize more.
Mhm.
Having those things in place is also, who do I need to go for specific things in the business that are, let's say, again, we do advertising, we do ads for e-commerce brands, and systems for those e-commerce brands, like email marketing systems. And it's like, okay, who do I need to go for everything that's happening within the ads team? Well, it's my ads director, and he handles 16 other people. So it's like, what kind
Mhm.
of systems do I have in place with them, right, that allows me to see what's going on between 16 people that are handling 60 accounts, right? So all of those things are the things that, like, little by little, as you're scaling, those are the things that you have to start thinking, because it's micro systems within the interactions that I have with my ads director, and so he has with the rest of the team. So it's also at that like moment of where you're really teaching them to become that type of leader, and coaching them, rather than like, not obviously if you're growing them from like an earlier position, but if you're hiring out, and for that position is like also this where does culture impact, right? And that's part of scaling. And that's why
Mhm.
everything behind that has to be really well put, because if not, then when you get to the scaling portion, things can crumble up
Mhm.
from
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, no, same. I've had the same experience, yeah. And I just love how mature your business is now and how you've been able to grow like that. That's awesome that you've got all of that clicking and running, and I know it's because you spend a lot of time thinking about and implementing and doing a lot of just pretty much everything that we talked about here today, and that makes a huge difference. So, good job, congrats, I'm freaking hyped for you. It's
Thank you. Thank
amazing.
you. It's been a crazy year. I can't wait
Yeah,
for the Q4 now. Black
yeah.
Friday.
Well, that's good stuff. So, Jamie, I know that you were in a position recently where it was just Jamie, and then you scaled and now you have a team. Do you have anything to add to, what to pay attention to when you're the solopreneur and then adding a bunch of people?
Main thing is timing, to start to plan it and put it in place and do it before you need it. So now that I have the team and everything in place, I'm kind of digging back out from getting in too deep. So getting things more systemized, kind of like getting everything in place the way the Will has it now. So being able to put that stuff in place and make things run much smoother has been amazing. And it's slowly starting to take all effect, and things are starting to streamline forward rather than just being a bottleneck.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I have to say something before we go around and give any final thoughts. Has anybody noticed anything this entire time that hasn't happened that always happens? No?
Jamie with his crinkling
I
paper?
didn't
What?
need.
No. Will has not talked about Gemini.
Oh my gosh, that's
What
true.
the? I
and
was
there's
freaking
new
waiting
stuff.
for it, dude. He said, I know you use ChatGPT too, but I was like, where's the Gemini? Where's that Gemini going?"
Actually, yeah. So a quick little note. So I discovered this app called Mindo. It's a Chrome extension that allows me to actually share things across different like models, LLMs. So
Mhm.
Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, all of them by creating projects that you can just bring in to that LLM after. And the cool thing is it also serves like as a clipper. So when you're doing research that you ask, ChatGPT or whenever you're doing deep research, precisely to the point where like you don't want it to be hallucinating or something, because it also does that during deep research, just so you know.
Mhm.
You look at the sources, and then you, as you're reading the sources, you clip the specific information you want out of that, and then you add it to that project, and you can bring that into the rest. So Gemini is my go-to at work when it comes to like doing actual work.
Yes.
ChatGPT is more like, let me just be creative and see if, what it comes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you
I
go
just
do
thought
your
that was
mushrooms in
interesting.
ChatGPT, and then you bring it back over to Gem. Is that what you said?
Exactly. That's exactly what I just said. I'm glad you caught that one. That's exactly what That's exactly right.
So did anybody have any like final thoughts or tips or anything that they wanted to share before we wrap up today?
I did have something, because I mentioned it in this morning's office hours, and I also mentioned it to my client. But I think there's an anti-automation approach that you can take to things. 'Cause a lot of people, they they say, "Oh, I need to automate this." And that's their first thing because they know they should do it, or people are telling them they should, or they can just imagine the possibilities. And yeah, it probably should be automated. But just taking a step back and saying, "What if I did it manually for a while?" Because like whenever, especially whenever you're first starting these processes within systems, or maybe you haven't even been doing them at all, and it's just a new idea that you have, then you should do it manually for a while and really, like, you're able to tune it in so much more and define the messaging and figure out what exactly the process is. And then it's easier to automate because you already have it like thoroughly tested and approved by your client or your customer or whatever it is. And then you can go in and automate it, and it's automating something that works.
I love that approach.
And a Tesla's like a prime example because like it'll drive itself, but you still gotta get in and you gotta like be there. You gotta be driving it. You gotta do something with it. You gotta touch the wheel every once in a while. Like you still gotta program it for where to go. It doesn't just go. And the AI and the technology we have now is about the same. Like you still have to be there and driving it and making sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And a lot of times you have to grab the wheel and do it yourself, and then you can let it run again, then grab the wheel again. And for me, AI is same.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. It's not there yet. I think it will be there very soon. By soon, I mean anywhere between 2 to 5 years, to be honest. I don't think we're that far away from it. And I guess the last thing and the last, but I guess my final thought is, if you are in Sub 2, if you are in Gator, if you are in TC, you're in Honors Club, make sure you make your way into this upcoming Monday for our AI module, which usually April is going to be leading, because I think this is a really big topic that people are not paying so much attention to because they get all the flashy stuff. And I think understanding how it actually works is going to make a huge, huge difference in your business. So that way you can actually implement it in the right areas. So
Yes.
make it out there on Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'll give it off to you, April.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. I mean, we'd all love to see everybody in that AI semester that's in the community because they're really fun to facilitate. We have a great time facilitating and, educating, answering questions, and just being there for people and giving them the fundamentals. And I guarantee even if you are familiar and you use AI a lot, you'll definitely learn something. You'll learn something in that semester. So, with that, I want to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in, watching AI Hotline. Make sure you check us out if you're in Owners Club in the office hours Thursday at 11 a.m. And again, here every Thursday evening at 8:30. You guys have a great night.
Thanks.